Just to remind everyone that we're a hybrid system, so we're quite a few here, but we've got a few people online, quite a lot actually. So that's why it's being recorded. And if people online have any question, just a reminder, put your question in the chat. And we've got Valeria who is checking all the questions so we can have them for the speakers. We've got a panel discussion this afternoon, but I think if we've got time after the presentation, we might have time for questions straight away. If we run out of time, we'll keep them for the discussion at the end. So write them down if you didn't get a chance to ask your question as we went. And I think because it's being recorded, when people ask questions in this room, we've got 2 microphones as well. So again, I will ask you to use that, so it's picking up the sound better. Because it's recorded, when you sign your signing sheet, you agreed to be taken in photos and be put on social media. But just as a reminder, if somebody is not happy about that, just let us know, let Marlene know, and we'll try to not put your photo anywhere. So just as a quick round table, so I don't want to go through everyone, we don't have the time, but if people can raise their hand to say from which country they're coming. So who is from Italy? Okay. From Spain? From Greece? From the UK? From Hungary? Welcome, Renata. From France? From Finland? Jaco. From the Netherlands? And I think from Ireland? From Norway? And I think I've got everyone. Romania, sorry. And we've got people from Brussels, the Commission, yeah. Have I forgotten anyone? No. And online, we've got quite a panel. We've got people from Italy, Finland, Spain, Argentina, France, Slovakia, Portugal, Israel, Norway, Tunisia, Germany, Belgium, Romania. So I think there is quite a few. I think there is roughly 70 people who register to be online. So I think it should be quite a big event. So thanks for everyone for taking the time to join us today and tomorrow. So here is just the agenda, but you should have it. If you don't have it, we've got quite a few next to Marlene. So I will quickly give you an overview of the TechCare project, and then we will have for 1 hour experience from other EU projects who worked on data, animal and welfare as well. So we will have the Decide project with Gerdine van Schaik, who will join us online. So we will pass a slide while she talks to us. And then we will have Clear Farm with Paul Lonch from Spain at the University of Barcelona. Then we'll have a little coffee break, and then we'll carry on with 2 more projects, DG for Life with Jaco from Luque, and A-Wish with Bas as well. So that should set the scene a little bit of the different type of projects that the EU Commission funded around a similar topic. Then we'll launch into the issue around the welfare assessment, and we'll present you some of the work we've done here with Kathy Dwyer. And then we should have lunch at 12 o'clock. And after 1 hour lunch break, we will have a big session talking about the technology testing we've done in the project. So we'll have Germain Tenier will present the TechCare pilot. Then we'll talk about the transport trial we've done with Gerardo Carra and Kathy Dwyer. And finally, talk about the large-scale farm with Germain and Laetitia from Ovia Aragon. Then we'll have a presentation of the TechCare platform with Abin Sula and the TechCare app, and coffee break. And after that, we will talk about how the stakeholder perceived the TechCare, and we will have the panel discussion, and that would be the end of the day. So just before we start in any great detail, I wanted to give you an overview of what TechCare was about. So we were reminiscing with colleagues when we started having the first ideas. It was back in 2018, I think. But the project officially started in September 2020, and it's finishing at the end of August this year. It's been 5 years. It was supposed to be only 4 years, but we had the COVID like everybody else, so now we got an extension, so it's a 5-year project. The topic at the time was the Horizon 2020 SFC 2019, and it was all around improving animal welfare. It was an innovative action, and the budget was roughly 5.7 million. The consortium was 9 countries. We've got now 18 partners, and I'm the coordinator, so Claire Morgan-Davies from SRUC in the UK. So just as a reminder, our project really looked at small ruminant system. That's why it was a bit different from some other projects that were funded at the time. And as you can see on the map, we were looking at meat sheep, so mostly partner from the UK, Ireland, France, Spain, and Israel. We looked also at dairy sheep, so that was partner from France, Spain, Italy, and Romania. And dairy goats, so that was in Norway and in Greece, and in fact, we also had a little bit in Spain. So why did we decide to look at sheep and goats in our project? Well, there is quite a lot of sheep and goats in the EU, so nearly 98 million of them. Plus, at the time, we had nearly 2.5 million in Norway and roughly half, well, 2/3 of a million in Israel. So it was quite a big, important production in these countries. As you probably know, they are mostly in challenging environments, more poor land, and they are very much part of the landscape, tradition, and cultural heritage. So it's a different type of production, maybe compared to other production like pigs or dairy cows. There is a lot of issue around the labor for this system and the flock size as well. So they really play a crucial role for the economies, for the society, biodiversity, but there is more and more issues in this system. So we have more and more lack of labor, increase in flock size, especially for the dairy flocks, and also that may create some issues around the care the individual animals are receiving. So if we look at PLF and welfare, so PLF, just to remind everyone, stands for Precision Livestock Farming. So it's widely adopted in what we maybe call high-value animal, so like dairy cows, but not very much in sheep and goats. But we believed in that project that there is a lot of welfare and production efficiency that could be attained if we were using PLF in this system. And sometimes the welfare of sheep and goats is overlooked a little bit because they tend to be outside and not necessarily inside. So our big question after all of these issues was, can we manage welfare in small ruminant system using precision livestock farming? So the objectives of the project was to propose innovative and cost-effective technology, and cost-effective being a very important word in what we were doing in TechCare, try to improve welfare management in small ruminant. So we wanted to find technologies that were adapted to the small ruminant production, that we wanted to consider the whole production chain, but actually we went all the way to the door of the abattoir. We wanted to develop early warning system and then using appropriate business model. We had 5 key steps. The first one was to prioritize welfare challenges and issues in this system, then identify potential solution, then validate this solution in different conditions, and then define business model, and then, of course, communicate the results that we've done nearly all the time. We had 2 main outcomes. We wanted to find a series of solutions that were ready to use for the small ruminant sector, and we wanted to have them tested and validated. But we are also aware that we will get a list of potential technologies that are not quite ready to be developed. So the idea was to help all small ruminant farmers, from the ones that are maybe not very tech-savvy to the ones that are a bit more innovative. There are many challenges. The first of all was the cost of the technology for sheep farmer is something that, sheep and goats farmer, is something that's quite important. We had to manage the farmer expectation, the difficulty or the ease of implementing the solution. Data analysis was a big challenge. Market readiness as well was a challenge. And also the fact that we worked in very, very different systems. As you can see at the bottom, that was a little bridge in Norway where the dairy goats are crossing every day. So very, very different system. So, but we still believe that at the end of the project, we managed to have a first step towards implementing technology in these systems. Of course, we had a very big challenge, 2020, 2021, the COVID years. So we had to organized all our meetings with colleagues, with industry, with the stakeholders, the farmer, all online on Zoom. So that was a challenge, but I think we managed to do as best as we could. We had big issues trying to exchange or obtain technology between the different countries. So I remember trying to send some sensor to France, and it was a bit challenging at the time. Everything was shut down, so we got quite a lot of issue with that. And also that we were dealing with production that are very seasonal. If you miss the beginning of lactation in the dairy sheep, then you're a bit in trouble. So that was just to remind everyone that it was only 3 years ago. So just a little bit about the project. So the outline, at the center of it is trying to improve animal welfare along the value chain. To do that, as I was saying, we were trying to use technology. So we had to select, test, and validate, and also analyze what we got. We also tried to introduce innovative business model, both for the farmer, but the company or the consumer. And at the top, we really had a stakeholder feedback all the way, and that's going to be presented later on today, but it's something that you need to keep in mind. So a quick things of what we've done. I'm just going to go over, and then you'll have more detail later on today. So we started with an inventory of welfare issues, and at the same time, we did an inventory of the precision livestock farming tools that were available. From the welfare issues, we got a list of welfare priority for sheep and goat. And from that, we developed some broad indicators, and Kathy later on will go more into detail into that. Once we had the indicator and the PLF tool, we came up with a list of PLF tools that potentially could address the priorities that were identified and be able to be measured with some of the tools. So we had 3 types of PLF tools that we identified. Some of them were only prototypes, and they were tested on experimental farm. Some of them were not quite there yet, but not far off, so we tested it on pilot, and that was done on demonstration farm, and we also done some transport trial for that. And finally, when we got the list of the tools that worked well on the demonstration farm, we introduced them on the large-scale farm to validate what we'd found. And that was on commercial farm, yeah. In all of these farms, we developed welfare assessment, and they were deployed on these systems. Then the data analysis was done on the results obtained from all these trials on these different farms, and we got some platforms that we developed, and we created some alert, or at least tried to. So again, that will be explained a little bit today and tomorrow. We also had a lot of engagement with stakeholders, as I was saying, and we did a series of national workshops all along the project and a consumer survey. And again, that will be detailed later on today. And we also looked at business model. So in a nutshell, that's all the activities we've done during that project. So I'll go over some of the activities very briefly. The pilot and prototype, I should say. We had 9 experimental farms in total. You can see on the map where they were and what production they were looking at. And we also looked at transport. We looked at transport by boat in Scotland and transport by lorry or little trailer in Spain. Again, that will be explained later on today. That's a very busy table, but don't worry. Here is just the list of all the PLF tools that we decided to test between the experimental farm and the pilot farm. And at the top were the welfare priority we were trying to address. And in the middle is the broad welfare indicator we used in these various conditions. Again, Kathy will go a little bit more in detail into that, and Germain and Laetitia later on this afternoon. But it's just to show you how we were trying to see which tool could address which issue and why and how. So as I say, we will have a talk about that tomorrow with the promising innovation, welfare assessment priority later on with Kathy, and the pilot and transport this afternoon. For the large scale, we had 6 demonstration sites. And we are, I think we were nearly 60 farms. And again, that's the tool that were tested. So the list is not as long as the one we had earlier, so just less tools. And you can see in France, they were looking at dairy sheep. In Greece was dairy goats. Ireland was meat sheep. Spain was a mix of dairy sheep. I think we had one dairy goat, and then meat sheep. And Romania was dairy sheep. So different tools were tested in different places. And the big issue here was trying to see if it was easy to measure these indicators and something that was available commercially that we could put on the farm. And we had also other criteria like the cost, the robustness, ease of use, and that will be explained a little bit more tomorrow. So as I say, large-scale farm, we'll have more detail about that. The data analysis, so we got data from the PLF tools that were implemented on the pilot and large scale. We also had information about the welfare assessment that were done. And these information together allowed us to develop two platforms. One that the company Abinsula was developing, so Francesco will talk about that this afternoon. And the second one was an app, TechCare, and Gerardo will present that this afternoon. We also are thinking of having 3 alerts, one on milking order, one on the weight change, and water intake. The milking order and water intake will be presented tomorrow. So as I was saying, it's just when it's going to be presented. And finally, that will be presented later on, but just to show you that the stakeholders had a very important role. So at every step we were doing, we were organizing these national workshops. And we did a big consumer survey just recently. Actually, we finished it in June. We nearly had nearly 3,000 participants from all the partner countries, plus 4 extra. And so Thierry and Eva will talk about it this afternoon. So that's just things about the survey in itself. So we had 12 questions, asking questions about the welfare status, how they would prioritize welfare issues, and what the consumer were really looking at. So as I say, that will be shown this afternoon. For the business model, the colleague first looked at an overview of the potential business models that could be addressed. They did a literature review and visited some of the partner countries during the project. Then they had a short list of a business model. I think they had 8, and they did some SWOT analysis to see which one would be useful or not. And at the end, we only had 5, and we did some consultation with stakeholders and with the consumer survey. So that will be presented tomorrow. And again, just to remind you, all the steps we've done, it's a bit of a repetition of what I've said, but just to see, we will talk about the welfare assessment when we'll talk about the welfare issues. The early warning system will be presented today with the TechCare platform. Technology testing is all to do with the pilot and commercial farm, and TechCare experience as well from the stakeholders. And tomorrow we will look at the promising innovation, also business model, and closing the loop. And finally, what do the farmers think? So just to put in context what's in the agenda and what we try to do during the project. So what was the output after 5 years? So as I say, we had some technology ready to be implemented on the farm, but they were low cost and relevant to the most, to the farmer in the small ruminant system. And we also have a list of technology that are not quite ready for the industry. But we were developing some guideline and blueprint and some alert. In total, I was just kind of listing everything we kind of got. We got welfare priority list, 4 sets of welfare assessment guideline, 4 broad categories of welfare indicators, 13 potential technology were identified and 4 tested on commercial farm, 3 alerts, and 3 different platforms. So again, it's just to show you where it's going to be presented today. But we know that the small ruminants are less advanced than other production along the value chain. We had a very low starting point, but we believe that what we got was very valuable information after 5 years. So that's it for me. I think we're going to have much more detail. That was just a very